crypto asset? Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto, and every day on the channel, we teach you how to make money with digital assets. I'm your host, DZ. Smash that like because we got a major story developing. We have the ETH Foundation selling their Ethereum, dumping their ETH. This is what killed the bull run in 2021. Also, we got major news with Bitcoin, World Liberty Fi, a last-ditch effort, a Hail Mary to save that token price. And we might even mention a little Cardano news, a little Dogecoin news. And I'm here joined by TJ. TJ, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good morning, everybody in the Disco fam. I see all the good mornings rolling in. Another great day. Beautiful weather. Gotta love fall. Feeling nice outside. And yeah, happy to be here. I don't think the altcoin season market's over, but ETH selling, ETH Foundation caught. Steve-O said it. You know, they've been caught. Gotta love the titles. And by the way, anybody who doesn't like clickbait titles, huh? Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. They click them, but it's funny that like I was gonna say, Forbes and some of the biggest publications out there are like the greatest. Some of the stuff they did about around Trump token was like $40 billion. You know, all this crazy stuff. They do it better than the rest of us. So
yeah, Trump family enriches themselves. Yeah, all that good stuff. Well, let's talk about enriching ourselves with some Bitcoin price action here. You can see Bitcoin had a very nice bounce. This was Tuesday. Yesterday morning, about 8:50, about 8 a.m. or so, you can see, you know, just nice giga pump, but then it's literally been stuck in a range since then. We haven't really made any major move. We kind of just track this. You can see we just keep kind of bouncing along the same area here. Maybe it's, you know, slightly moving to the upside, but right now, Bitcoin trying to choose a direction. If we go to the relative strength index, we are seeing a little bit of strength. We are seeing a little bit of a, you know, maybe some power returning to this chart here as maybe the sellers are starting to get exhausted. What's your I mean, odds are we're going to break above more likely than we break down because we're closer and we've been testing it, and we've been testing it a lot lately, at least on this 5-minute chart. Are we going to break through this stream, TJ?
This stream?
Yeah, is it happening in the next, say, 45 hour?
Well, man, it is moving up. We
just wicked it this 5 minutes.
Yeah, I could. I mean, 1, 2, 3. I mean, look at that. I mean,
knocking on the door, man.
It is. Yeah, it probably. I don't know about this stream, but today, I'll say today. How about that?
Right. I'm saying this stream. CJ just reposted the stream. CJ, shout out to X, all the people helping us out on X. It's going to happen while you're watching, folks. That's my prediction. And one of the reasons, though, that might not happen, this is ETH Bitcoin. ETH on the 1 hour chart is gaining strength. We're seeing a little bit of a return to activity in the altcoin world. In fact, if you go to Coin Market Cap here and click on the altcoin season, oh, TJ, wasn't it at 50? Oh, it's 53 now.
Yeah, it's climbing.
Technically, we're in altcoin season now.
Yeah, according to Coin Market Cap, it's altcoin season, which I think is pretty interesting metric here. It's basically all that looks at is coins outperforming Bitcoin. So there's 53 out of the top 100 coins. If you go to the top 2, 3, 4, 5, it's, you know, you can see there's all sorts of coins doing it. But if you keep scrolling down, you'll see Bitcoin. It should show it. Yeah, there's Bitcoin right there. So out of the top 100, you've got more than 50 of them outperforming.
High pump virtual Tia Trump. Rogues gallery of altcoins here on the bottom.
I think everybody's rotating out of Trump into World Liberty Fi, kind of like what you talked about in your video. But I think that's just an interesting metric to keep an eye on. See if we stay in that for 6 weeks or so. Obviously, people have high expectations of what their coin's going to do in. That's over a 90-day performance.
Yeah, 90 days.
Interesting. So you can see it. There's that little graph shows it right there of kind of like we peaked into it before and then dipped back down. But anyway, worth keeping an eye on. I do think part of the pump, obviously, right now with the job stuff, which I think we've got some information on we'll be getting to, but jobs numbers came in a little bit soft and everybody's hyped about rate cuts. Silver's pumping, commodities are going through the roof. So
love to see it. Love to see it here. Oh, I was like, why can't I find the coins on CoinMarketCap? I was looking at trending instead of top.
Yeah, they changed that. That's interesting. If doesn't Binance owns CoinMarketCap, so it's kind of I hate it. They're shillings. They're trying to
on their altcoins.
They're trying to put your eyes on trash, basically.
You know what? There's a reason I go to CoinGecko. I do like the altcoin season index, but you know what? You put me back into the Gecko camp here.
Well, they just changed that. That the first time I've ever seen that happen is today. So I wonder if they're going to change it back.
Boo, boo. Yeah. I hate it. Bitcoin is up 0.2%. ETH is up 1.9%. We see that Tron is up slightly. Dogecoin, nice little move here. Solana also with a little move, 3.5%. We look for the big gainers, though. We have meme core. Yet again, I would just be careful trading this one. I think when it dumps, it's going to dump very, very hard. OKB, Athena with a very good pump as well. And Ondo, we're going to talk about Ondo a little bit later. And shout out to Josh's video. If you didn't watch Josh's video on Ondo, go check that out. Aave and Avalanche also with some nice moves here.
Chat says
surprising to see.
Arrow says it's doing okay too. Chat says.
Right, we got Mr. Drip Snake. We are Snake. We're all snakes. We got the snake. We got the viper's nest in the chat here. Big fan of Snake, of course. Here we got some of the cans behind us. You see it right there. Snake Energy, that OG, that first edition can there. All right, I do want to look at XRP. There's something I want to share on XRP on the 1 hour chart. We're seeing a little bit of strength here, but XRP, after its bullish div on the 1 hour, you can see, the price is flat on the bottoms, wicked actually a little bit lower, but the RSI was creating a lot of strength here. But now we're starting, it's funny because this has been changing since I was looking at this about an hour ago. We did have a bear div on the 1 hour, but now the XRP army, they're getting a little bit of strength. They're fighting the bear div. So I would say the next area to pay attention to for XRP is just going to be this downward trend line here. That might be something to pay attention to. Let's give you the dollar amount, though, because that's what you want to see. That's going to be right there at $2.97 if it happens today. So we might wick into $3. My expectation is XRP will reject at least briefly from that area. Are you bullish on what? Are we going to do another significant leg up when we break this resistance, you think, TJ?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's, yeah, I think so. I think when we get into rate cuts and we start getting into risk on, yeah, I think it breaks that downward trend line and
15% higher. Then we went about 8% higher. If you go to the weekly, you can see XRP flirting with some nice price discovery zone. So it keeps trying to break out past these 2018 levels. I think once it does, we might see something. I don't know about this vertical, but we might see something very bullish on XRP. I hate seeing it's just that bullish metric. All right, I do want to look at the big dumpers here. We got World Liberty Financial, no surprise there, Mantle Sky and Flare and Polygon all on the way down. Let's talk about ETH here. ETH Foundation, caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Vitalik, talking about you here. ETH Foundation just deposited $42 million worth into Kraken 5 hours ago, and they plan to sell it. They've announced this. There's going to fund R&D grants and donations here. Now, why is this happening? What happened last time? Let's kind of talk about this here. So, like we said, it's to fund research and development grants and donations related to the ecosystem. They're going to use centralized exchanges over the next several weeks. This will take place over multiple smaller orders rather than one single large transaction. Now, the foundation supporting the ETH blockchain released a treasury policy just a couple months ago. They laid out how they're going to sell ETH. Specifically, this is what they said. Gotta love lawyers for this one. Periodically calculate the deviation of the treasury's fiat-denominated assets and determine how much, if any, ETH will be sold over the next 3 months. How would you break that down? How would you normalize that sentence?
Periodic.
Gotta love the lawyers. They're in their bill for this one for sure.
Yeah, basically that they'll figure out how much they want to sell and sell it.
Yeah, and the way I'm looking at this is they're going to calculate the deviation of their cash. So they're going to see when their cash pumps. When ETH pumps, they're going to dump ETH. That's kind of what I'm saying. So they have, all right, we got $1 million in cash denominated assets. And then when all of a sudden that's $2 million in cash denominated assets, oh, well, our cash denominated asset balance rose. Let's go ahead and shrink it back down to $1 million. So it seems like they kind of want to have a set fiat amount. So as ETH pumps, they might start dumping their ETH. Now, since announcing this treasury policy, they've sold $25 million worth of ETH already. They sold it to SharpLink Gaming and $12 million to, I think, the same one there. Now, one of their most significant sales, December 2020. Maybe this isn't going to lead to a pump or a dump, maybe a pump rather. They may have contributed to the price surging to an all-time high in the following months. I was not aware they sold 100,000 ETH in December 2020. Right before the run-up. Did you even know? I'm just now learning this.
Yeah, I knew. I know Ethereum Foundation traditionally has been very good at selling before a run up. This is not necessarily new behavior by the Ethereum Foundation. They sold what's
They
interesting.
sold the top in 2021.
They perfectly timed the top, multiple times. So that's why anytime they sell, it gets a bunch of attention. People say, "Oh, is this the top? Does this mean this is the top for Ethereum, and we're going to go into a multi-year bear market?" Because they've made some very big sells near the top. That I think for two-part reasons. One, they know market cycles. They've done this for a while, and they know when to prepare for a bear market. But it's also a function of probably smart portfolio management, which is basically what you were just outlining. When it pumps a bunch, we move some over here into reserves, and then it pumps again, and we move some over to reserves. And arguably, this is what you would want from the Ethereum Foundation. I mean, it doesn't feel good to think, "Oh, why are you selling your bags?" Well, realistically, you want it to get out into more hands of more people and be in a broader market, a more decentralized market. You don't want it to be concentrated among a small group of people. So eventually you want this to happen. But never, anytime they're selling, it gets everybody's attention because it could be near a top, but it's not necessarily uncommon for any foundation to be selling. But
Vitalik did release this short video here. He's happy about it. Yeah. I know what he's actually happy about every time he goes to the bathroom. Anyways, we have some other ETH news. ETH has had a lot of activity, a lot of breaking stuff that's been happening in the last 24 hours here. We also have formerly one of the world's richest men ever, until he was neutered by the Chinese government. Of course, I'm talking about Alibaba founder Jack Ma. Jack Ma was sent into a education camp where they basically disappeared him for weeks at a time. He was the most successful CEO in the entire country. He was operating, the Amazon of China. They were seeing him as the Chinese Jeff Bezos. And he said something semi-critical of the government a few years back, and they just abducted him in the middle of the day. So Jack Ma, his company, Yunfeng Financial Group Limited, is now buying 10,000 ETH as a reserve asset. Well, what was the ETH Foundation just selling? 10,000 ETH. So nice little, I would say, coincidence there. Now, if you're wondering, well, what the heck do they do? They're a Hong Kong company. It's a holding company in financial services. They have insurance business. Now, insurance has a lot of packaged financial instruments where it might be 100,000 home insurance claim, for a 6-month period, and you can kind of sell that on the open market there. And they have other things like consultant firms, advisory services, capital investment. It's basically a fintech company here. And so his fintech company is buying $44 million worth of ETH amid their Web3 push. I just want to share this. Now, they're chosen to support their real-world asset tokenization innovation and broader integration into Web3. So Alibaba, one of the most successful businessmen, and the Yunfeng company, they are choosing ETH, and they're saying it's for RWAs. Now, I see a lot of competitors in the RWA space. I think Ondo, is going to be part of that. I think XLM is going to be part of that. But I think ultimately, you look at like a Chainlink and an ETH, they're going to be the main drivers of that whole ecosystem, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. They're the rails that all that other stuff is going to be built on. Plume is another one that gets a lot of attention.
Plume, yeah, shout out to Plume. I know we got some Plume holders. If you hold Plume, let us know.
And you may want, let's go ahead. Speaking of breaking, let's pull up the chart real quick because I think you might be 112,400 now. Bitcoin's been ripping this streak.
Look at that. Knocked on that door. We told you it was going to burst through that door.
Yeah, crushed it. I mean, with authority. So,
did you see the 11-year-old in Houston ding dong ditching, knocking on a door? He got shot.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, this just happened.
That's sad.
Wild story.
Yeah.
Don't let your 11-year-old ding dong. Did you ever do that? I did it when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, as a real little kid, briefly,
real little. 11 years old is too old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not these days. Yeah, it's a scary world out there, and realistically, where we're heading is probably not a whole lot more secure. So yeah, don't do that. But just coming back to the pump real quick, if you guys are wondering why Bitcoin is absolutely ripping like that, I mean, we're 112,500 now. It's on the jobs report information.
Yeah, we got that. I'm rolling into that shortly.
Yeah, we're gonna hit that in just a minute. But obviously, what that does is lock in rate cuts. So now on the rate cut expectations, now everybody's back to pouring money in. It's amazing how fast this market can change and sentiment can change. By the way, we didn't mention it. I don't know if you did. I think was I out on Tuesday or maybe it was Monday. everybody out here crying that the market's over at 108, saying, "Oh, it's going to zero. We're going back under 100K. Bull market top is in." And then it's, we go back up to like 110, 112, and then immediately everybody shifts back to, new all-time highs, 200K. It's just, it kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, we went from fear yesterday to 10,000 ETH immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
It's going to teleport there. Looking at ETH, ETH's also doing pretty good. This is the 5-minute chart here. You can see it's also getting a nice little pump in, folks. So good job if you got those trades open. Now, a couple more things on ETH, then we'll talk about the jobs report in Bitcoin. ETH breaking out of a 18-month-long bullish megaphone and then retested it successfully. Sure as hell looks like it's ready for price discovery to me. I don't know if it looks like that to you.
Ooh,
Zooming in. Yeah, this is going all the way back to 2024. This is move. I got a thing blocking my date there. This is March 2024. So we're going on about 15 months here. Knocking against it. Perfect retest. So love seeing that. That is very bullish. But you're going to see some bearish news on ETH. This isn't anything too bearish. Do not freak out when you see people talking about the staking queue. It's an all-time high. It's the highest level since September 23. Billions is waiting to be unstaked here. But wait a minute. We haven't seen queues of this size since 2023 when the Shanghai upgrade enabled withdrawals. And so when you see the staking entry queue, it's also high. So they don't have exit, but this chart does have the exit.
Yeah, there you go.
Exit was, oh my God, everyone's trying to unstake their ETH. It's all-time high. We were talking about this. This is August 28th. This is August 21st. So there's only a week right here. Oh, it's over. But the entry queue is also rising. And so for now, every 20 people trying to leave the club, there's 20 people trying to get in the club. So to me, it's kind of a wash here. They're kind of canceling
Well,
each other
go back
out.
to that. Go back. You see a lot of that started happening. A lot of that started happening.
Clarity Act and Genius Act.
Right, when around the time the ETH Treasury company started happening, and the ETH ETF inflows started happening. So when we got regulatory clarity, a lot of the whales started making moves within the ETH ecosystem. That's when the price started moving. And realistically, I think what you're seeing is it's changing hands. People that have held it for a very, very long time and had it staked are now changing. It's getting transferred to other people, so it needs to get unstaked and restaked, and that's what we're seeing happening right now.
Yeah, and there's a weight related to that. Let's talk about the job market real quick. This is from Caleb Franzen. Job openings are declining, quits are increasing, layoffs are increasing. Is this job data right here? So we had a job openings estimate 7.18 million. Looks like estimate was 7.38, previously 7.43. Jobs opening rate were 4.4% of jobs opening. Now it's only 4.3%. Quits more. About the same. Layoff level also a little bit more layoffs. So layoffs are up and layoff rate is up. So there's now more and more people labeling themselves as laid off. So job openings are declining, the quits are increasing, layoffs are increasing. Further evidence of softness in the labor market. So the ADP private payrolls data tomorrow will be even more important for hiring measurements. But a lot of people are assuming, more and more likely we get rate cuts. I actually want to go straight to poly market. Let's go to like the 6-hour market.
I know you hate
any change here.
The Fed watch tool, but I think I've got that too, but it's up dramatically. But go ahead and pull it. Poly market's probably more accurate. While you're pulling that up, it is this, and this is what's interesting. It's not necessarily logical. What do you got?
Little blip. Nothing really crazy.
Yeah. It's still in the 90s, or is it 86 on 25 basis.
So we got about 9 out of 10 shot that we are going to see a rate cut.
And then Fed Watch has it in the 90s or whatever, high 90s. So,
and again, that is the more inaccurate one, folks. So just be careful with that one. There's a lot of indicators where if it's a 51% likelihood and you have all 10 indicators saying 51% likelihood, it will then give you 100% probability because it's using different metrics to measure probabilities is all. It doesn't have a lot of nuance with that one.
Yeah. But to come back to what I was talking about with unemployment, this was weird to me when I first got into this, how, wait a minute, the less jobs in the economy is bullish for the market. Everything's pumping because there's more people unemployed. That doesn't make any sense. That's kind of counter logical. And it is because the reason they're pumping is because expectations of rate cuts and money printing are higher. And so that it is counterintuitive. It is an irrational, I believe, irrational market decision to say, oh, well, it's bullish that the economy's bad because we know they're going to make money out of thin air and that's going to send our bags up, which has been true. And that has happened continually with the stock market and with Bitcoin. And that's part of why Bitcoin and commodities in general, I think, are the best place you can be positioned right now, which is why we see gold going up astronomically, which we have a video
Tonight
on.
video, tonight's video.
Tonight's video is going to be about that, why gold's going up, and we see silver hitting an all-time high, going up dramatically, and then Bitcoin fits in that area as a commodity as well. So it's the best way to position yourself for when the economy is being irrational, when markets are being irrational. You get people pouring money into things that don't make a lot of sense because they think, well, the government's just going to come in and bail us all out anyway. Even if we're all unemployed, they're going to print the money, which they probably will. But it's not necessarily signs of a strong economy. And so, like, to me, when I see markets pumping on unemployment going up because we think the Fed's just going to stimulate more, that means it's getting close to irrational, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years, but at some point in the next decade or two, I think we're going to see a reckoning for all of this uncontrolled printing and spending.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're going to go into some Ray Dalio stuff on that. I like Ben Cowan's take on the jobs market. This is from 30 minutes ago. The number of jobs openings per unemployee metric that Powell references a lot just fell below 1. That means there's now fewer job openings than there are people looking for a job. So there's 99 people looking for a job, but there's only 97 jobs. This will almost certainly lock in the rate cut for September.
Yep.
So rate cuts go down, risk assets end up benefiting from that.
You still feel strongly we see 2 rate cuts this year, or more or less just 1? I mean, so everybody's locked in for
probably
September.
2. Probably 2. It doesn't do most people well to bet against poly market.
Yeah. Is that what poly market?
Unless the UMA whales manipulate you.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Did you guys see the alpha? Like, there's a pretty easy, there's easy money to be made on poly market. We should probably do some videos on that soon. If you like to trade and gamble, predict, what you can, there's some, just betting no on a lot of things on poly market. I think has a 78% probability on.
They have all these like weird things. There's like, is Kim Kardashian and Kanye West's daughter getting married this year? Like, just these weird just pop culture, like all these like random things. Just bet no. Bet no, and it's a lot of free money.
Yeah, and we haven't really done it much here. We've been moving and stuff, but I that's something I want to do when we get to the new office, is start just playing with some of that kind of stuff, because I think with how smart our chat and our community is, there's pretty easy money on prediction markets.
For sure. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin now. Bitcoin, probably nothing. We had a bullish flag, broke out of it, and now we're in a bullish wedge. Now, these are traditionally going to be a bullish metric here. You can see the sellers losing steam. So this could see a little reversal here. Now, tonight's video is going to be gold. Miles Deutscher just simply states you cannot be mid-long-term bearish on Bitcoin when the gold chart looks like this. The higher gold goes, the higher the price anchor is for Bitcoin. Turn on your notifications. I do a big deep dive, and we're going to look at gold and Bitcoin's relationship. And what does this gold pump mean for Bitcoin? And how long do we have to wait to see the pump? And so watch that video if you're interested in that. I highly recommend it. It's going to be a good one. Now, Bitcoin, this one I just wanted to share. Bitcoin set to beat red September dip for the 3rd straight year, TJ. Hold on. What's the date?
2020, September 2025.
What's the date of September?
September 3rd.
3rd. I say it's a little early, Cointelegraph.
Yeah.
You're counting your chickens a little early here. Okay. Now they go into, there's some reasons here. I do want to share this about September and October. September claims the dreaded nickname because it's delivered the lowest monthly returns for Bitcoin. It's average 3.77% decline over 12 years. It's also the month China's done its crypto bans in 2017 to 2021. Now, the red September reputation comes from equities, from the traditional stock market, etc., where September is also the weakest month for the S&P 500. It's when the investors return from summer and they're a little bit more risk off. But the gloom often doesn't last. September losses historically give way to October, a month that's delivered gains in 6 consecutive years and only 2 losses in the entirety of Bitcoin's history, or in a coin glass there. So that gives you just a little insight into where the red September and October come from. It's from the equities market, folks. Everybody, August, hot, steamy, muggy, smells like piss in New York City. So all those Wall Street executives, they go just F off on them islands for a little bit. Then they come in and they reshuffle their portfolio. And that's essentially what you see here. What's the last time you've been in New York City? New York City.
It's actually been a little while. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, me too. It's been like 2-3 years for me, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Josh lives there, right?
Yeah. Well,
is a pool house at Eric Adams' mansion.
something like that. I'm trying. I guess it
He's
was
not
20,
his pool boy.
23.
It's
I
his
think
pool
sometime in
man.
22 or 23. I can't quite remember. I think it was. No, maybe I went in 24, early 24, maybe. But it's been a little while.
Shout out to New York City. Still probably the greatest city in America by most metrics. You know, art's there, finance is there, the billionaires are there, tastemakers are there. So shout out to NYC. It does stink though.
The history is there, and the brand, like it'll never. You can't replace it. So it might be it might be on a dip right now, but
maybe crime surging. Maybe the
it'll recover. Yeah, it's had rises and falls in the past. It'll always be New York City. Always.
All right. The Big Apple. All right. Well, let's talk about U.S. regulators. This is pretty good because this is just signaling more buying pressure for your cryptocurrency assets. The U.S. regulators clarify rules for spot crypto trading. I just want to share this one part, what the SEC statement means for spot crypto trading. So while exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken already have spot trading, this signals that traditional finance venues are not barred from listing similar products, spot Solana, spot ETH, spot Bitcoin, if they choose to pursue them. Under the staff guidance, NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, CME Group, Cboe Global Markets, along with others, are eligible now to list spot crypto products. So we just literally got a green light from the regulators for all these legacy institutions to start selling spot crypto. Now, I don't think all of them are going to start selling you Bitcoin tomorrow. A bunch of buy pressure from BlackRock and people that watch Jim Cramer, and they're like, oh my God, I'm buying all the Solana now. But this is that step in that right direction, like the Clarity Act, like Trump winning, like all these things that we're seeing. The dominoes are starting to fall, folks.
I think we will, maybe not tomorrow, but I think we see a lot of that very quickly. Kind of just like what you said with the Genius Act. It didn't take long before we saw a huge influx of volume on stable coins. It's pretty rare for the SEC and the CFTC to be in lockstep unison on something like this. So I think we'll see that things roll out very quickly, and we will have boomers, so to speak, buying Solana after watching Mad Money or whatever it is, Fox Business or Bloomberg or all that stuff. I think it's going to get, and that's part of why I still think we might see a rally in 2026, because a lot of this stuff, it's either going to happen November, December this year, where you start to see a lot of that happen, which fits in perfectly with a Q4 rally, or we start to see that extend into next year. And I think a lot of these big systemic changes that are happening on the regulation level is going to bring in a wave of money like people cannot imagine.
It's a
tsunami. Like the real big floodgates are about to open up as this, again, Bitcoin going from 2 trillion to 10 trillion to 20 trillion, like that. That's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen pretty quick. So,
all right, everybody, do not forget to smash that like button, like Crypto Steve-O says. It really does help us out with our metrics. And sometimes we delve into topics that maybe the YouTube overlords don't like. We're talking about the dollar declining and the failings of our U.S. government. So help us out with YouTube moderators here. So let's talk about the bond market and how broken it is. So this is the definition of broken. In 15 days, the Feds likely are going to cut rates for the first time in 2025. Yet the 30-year Treasury yield is now near 5%. So we have rising interest rates as markets price in rate cuts. Do you realize what's happening? Now, I'm going to skip through most of this, but there's just some takeaways I want to share with you here. And so the Treasury yields are surging with the 30-year note yield back at 5%, same level seen, in 2008, amid the biggest financial crisis in U.S. history. Interest rates are literally rising as the markets prepare for rate cuts to begin. And so this is because deficit spending under Trump has gone so far out of control that the Fed is losing control of interest rates, and every administration previously, all the way back to Clinton, I'm aware. Now, the U.S. has issued $200 billion of bonds in just 5 weeks, and we're reaching the point where investors, they don't even want to buy it at the current yields. And so they talk about the premiums, they talk about the 2-week there, and they talk about other countries here. So for us to see what's happening, we got to look at what happened to UK, because UK went down the same path. The Bank of England has cut interest rate 5 times in the last 12 months. But this is the exact same route now that the Fed is taking. Despite them having rising inflation, they blamed a weaker economy and labor market. What did we just get? Bad labor market news. So we're seeing this literally play out in a cyclical fashion. It is repeating these same steps. Now today, UK's 30-year bond broke 5.7%, first time since the 90s. They cut rate 5 times and ended up with a 27-year high. The market literally rejecting interest rate cuts due to deficit spending and inflation, due to money printing. And so they're rejecting these cuts due to how much money they're printing. Also, same thing happened in Japan. The Japan yields 30 times higher than they were in 2019. Not 2020 post, you know what? We're talking about 2019 here. Now, this explains why gold has been rising in a straight line higher. Gold knows this is just the beginning of the global deficit spending crisis, and stagflation is now here. Now, stagflation, you're going to have high inflation, low growth, high unemployment. Last time we saw this was in the 70s. The older people will tell you, you know, with the gas lines, not a good time, and it was pretty rough for that economy at the time.
Yeah. No, I think that's a pretty something I've been reading about a lot recently. These bond markets are getting out of balance with the rest of the world. The liquidity is running a little bit low. And like what DZ just pointed out, what we've seen in times in the past, when cutting interest rates isn't doing it, that's a sign of a system that is flawed and broken. So that's part of why and it's another sign you see when everybody in society is involved in the markets and taking riskier and riskier bets, whether it's gambling, like we were just talking about poly market, or sports betting, or all the different stuff people are having to do out there to make money today. They're throwing it at anything that's trying to beat inflation or an uncontrollable debt. That's going to continue to force us to print money to pay the debt, which creates the inflation. So I do think we're heading towards stagflation, where we might get one more. There might be, the big question is, because we've seen this happen. It happened in 2008. The markets got to the same place in 2019 before we had the big global pandemic crisis that happened, which again gave a very good reason to print an insane amount of money and flood the system with money to kind of cover a lot of these problems. But now with the systems getting back to that same inflection point, there was really only two options: let it break or print a ton of money. Every other time they've printed a ton of money, but every time this happens, they've had to print more money, and it buys them less time. So there's less time between these crises. So if we do it again now, we're going to probably have to do it again in not too distant future, maybe 2 to 4 to 6 years. So the question is, how many more times will they do this before they say, all right, let's just prepare for some pain? And eventually that's going to happen. I do think it happens in our lifetime. Like I say, it could be 10 years from now, it could be 6 years from now, it could be 20 years from now. So in my opinion, and I imagine a lot of people that watch this channel, a lot of people that got into crypto, commodities is the safest way to prepare for that. Bitcoin gives you really high upside, as well as is prepared for you. Now, I'm not saying it's completely insulated. You will see a downturn. If the whole market breaks, you'll see a downturn. But they're going to print a ton of money, in my opinion. So.
All right, we got a question here talking about the cycle here. Now, what do you see? Crypto Banter is saying that this cycle will go much longer. What is your view? Now, Crypto Banter, show the chart. I swear to God, guys, this is what I saw when I opened it. And as TJ was going, I went to Max. That's the guy who launched the gummy meme coin. So the guy that launched the gummy meme coin, or his team, he's part of this launch here, of course. He thinks that the cycle is going to go on forever. I saw, maybe that's a little clickbaity. I think that the days of the cycle being over with an 80% drawdown, which is the definition we've used every single cycle. You see that 80% or higher drawdown, and that kind of tells you the market's over. I think last time it was like 77 point something percent. I think the days of the 70% plus drawdowns are done forever. $120,000 Bitcoin. If you're looking at a 70% drawdown, you're looking at a $36,000 Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to see those days ever again. So by that metric, the cycle is going to go forever. But I do think we're going to get a 50% drawdown. And I think people are going to shift the definition of bull market and bear market, and they'll just fit whatever their prediction was prior. I think we are going to see a 50% drawdown, and it won't happen at the normal time, which would be October. I think we potentially pump into Q1 2026. But let me tell you this. Absolutely no one knows for sure. Absolutely no one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Nobody knows for sure, but I also agree with your assessment. I do think I do believe the traditional 4-year cycle.
Shade. I'm sorry to cut you off. It wasn't shade. Whatever. The token's down. I don't know what you want me to say here.
Yeah. I do think the traditional 4-year cycle is going to come to an end this cycle. Somebody asked in comments the other day, is it over? And my answer to that is it's not over until it's over. Like the 4-year cycle, it hasn't broken yet, and it isn't broken until it is, if that makes sense. So I think it will. My prediction is this is the last time, we will break the 4-year cycle this year. I do think we will pump in 2026, but I also agree. I think we have a significant drawdown at some point before that. So, like, if we pump a lot in Q4, we could even pull back early 26 and pump late 26. And I also agree. I think we'll get up towards 200, have maybe a 50% drawdown, which is fine with me. 100K Bitcoin doesn't scare me one bit. And then off to all-time highs again.
I love Banter Bubbles. I think that's a great product. I don't have anything shady to show or to say whatsoever. Again, we're not trying to drag other people down.
No, they give a lot of good takes and a lot of good information. But I agree with
Sheldon.
Yeah, I agree with what DZ's saying. Nobody knows 100%, and we all share our thoughts, our predictions. We all have experience in the market, and we share what we think is going to happen based on that. But nobody knows.
Yeah, the bubbles are cool. 100%. The bubbles definitely cool. All right, let's talk about Ray Dalio. Also, in relation to the collapse of the U.S. economy. Again, you have to watch tonight's video talking about gold and Bitcoin. There's a lot of correlation there, folks. But Ray Dalio warning of a U.S. economic heart attack from debt, sees appeal in Bitcoin. Now, billionaire and hedge fund manager Ray Dalio has issued a stark warning about the U.S. economy, predicting a debt-induced economic heart attack. I love that. Debt-induced economic heart attack, fueled by unsustainable government spending. Now, at the same time, the U.S. is issuing record amounts of debt, the largest foreign buyers, they're selling that U.S. debt and they're buying gold. Major holders of U.S. Treasury, like China and Japan, have been significantly reducing their holdings. The dwindling demand combined with exploding supply is the recipe for what Dalio calls the economic heart attack. Now, he also gives a shout out to gold and Bitcoin. He argues that hard assets with limited supply like gold and Bitcoin are increasingly attractive as governments are forced to print more money to cover the debts. Now, I do think we definitely Trump wants rate cuts. We're seeing more and more signals that, the bond market and such are going to ignore those rate cuts. Yields are going to rise because people are betting that the government might not be able to pay that note 30 years from now, 10 years from now. And so they demand a premium when they sell these notes. And this is going to create if you haven't watched Ray Dalio's, Changing World Order? Basically, it creates a positive feedback loop where you have more debt and the debt it's like a credit card. You have, 10%, your credit card bill isn't that bad. But if you max that credit card to the nines, you're barely making enough to pay the interest payment. And then the interest payment starts adding to the credit card debt. And that's exactly what we're seeing with the U.S. economy. We have hit that point. In his opinion, we've hit the point of no return. So if you haven't seen Changing World Order, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a great, great watch.
It is a good one. Another one, it's a little longer, more time investment, but Creature from Jekyll Island talks about the way that they repackage this debt and the kind of the cycle, the debt. It explains the debt cycles from a little different angle, but it's definitely important to understand global debt cycles, which is more or less what he covers in Changing
All
World
right. We have this article about Venezuela, and it was just auto playing a video on the bottom. I swear I just hit pause. Look how sycophantic his cabinet appears. They're just glazing him uncontrollably at this point.
That's fun. Kind of looks like Gavin Newsom in the It's not, but it's just the guy over his shoulders, like Gavin
Newsom and Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Fused their DNA in a test tube and then sent it to Jekyll Island, and then it came out a different Jekyll Island. That's what he looked like there. All right, nice little literary allusions there. All right, let's talk about the U.S. All right, so this is basically Venezuela, and they're using more and more crypto. And Venezuela has limited ways in which they can glean money. Now, one of the ways they do make money, obviously, is going to be selling oil. I just learned this. Although the U.S. Treasury Department recently issued a new restricted license to Chevron, allowing them to export oil after a 3-month hiatus, the agreement explicitly blocks any payments to the Venezuelan government, further reducing the quality or the quantity of dollars available for exchange. So we allow Chevron, international corporation, to sell Venezuelan oil, but none of the money goes to the Venezuelan government. I just want to say based State Department, I guess. State-run oil company has since been slowly increasing its digital currency usage and moving sales to USDT. Now, USDT, so we have a state-sanctioned government. We have this company with American shareholders able to sell oil in that government, but they can't give any money to the Venezuelan government. And then you go into the article, well, they're selling oil in USDT TJ, to me, this seems like USDT is the CIA's now gray market choice for a currency. I think they used to do pallets of cash. I think USDT is the new gray market currency there.
Yeah, I think I don't know how new it is, but yeah, I do.
It's not new.
Yeah.
It's not new, but that's just proof. I did not know the Chevron thing.
Yeah, no,
the
that's
Chevron thing is wild.
It is pretty interesting. Yeah, it's pretty black and white.
Let's see. Is Chevron operating in Venezuela without giving money to Venezuela? And it says basically, yeah. Now they do, just to be clear here, they allow them to give them like precursors for oil refinement. And so I don't know. It's a complicated issue, sort of arrangements there. How much you want to bet? Like someone knows the guy that owns that company that gets like the Chevron byproducts there. So something crazy going on there. Ondo. Big shout out for Ondo. Let me know if you hold Ondo. I want to see you type in Ondo. Ondo man is going to be back. Don't you worry. But Ondo Markets has made its debut. 100 plus tokenized stocks and ETF going live on Ethereum. This just happened, folks. And we just put out Ondo video last night. It's really, really good video. Highly recommend. Go check that out. Josh, working as he's traveling internationally. Or maybe it was from Eric Adams' bunker.
Yeah.
Was it?
No, I think he's back.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, he'll be back for too long. Yeah, only 310. That is way too small. Let's smash those like buttons, folks. We want to get these likes skyrocketing. We want them to go up like the U.S. debt, unsustainable levels. Is breaking your computer screen. This is going to be bullish for crypto for sure. Gemini is a new IPO. Coinbase IPO, all-time high. Bullish IPO, all-time high. Is Gemini going to join the list? I would say is a non-zero chance that. So we'll be following this. We'll be looking at the date, and then maybe that could be a potential local top signal because it keeps being a local top signal, folks. You ready to talk about Cardano? Everyone thinks it's in my contract.
I know Steve-O is ready for it. So.
Steve-O's ready. He's like, wait a minute, Solana first. No, let's talk about Cardano real quick. We get all these questions. What about my Cardano on this wallet? What about my Cardano in this wallet? I keep saying you got to wait for those wallets to release statements. So go follow if you have something on Arculus, you have it on Trezor, you have it on Ledger, whatever you might have it on, go follow their socials and you'll see them. So update does look like I think Trezor is going to be Trezor users. You can now claim your night allocation from your ADA holdings and Trezor. So go check this out. Probably going to do a Cardano video. There's some interesting price action happening on this daily chart going all the way back to late June, early July. You can see it right here. This would give us a potential breakout. The way you measure that is, I don't do the shady way where you do it all the way from here. We're just going to do it from the local touches on both ends. All right, that puts us right back at the previous local high right here. And then after that, now that's where the fun starts for Cardano. That's when we start talking about a $3 Cardano, $5 Cardano. Maybe I'll launch a video later this week. How many Cardano do you need to be a millionaire? Yeah. What's your guess? Just, if you had to just throw out a number, local top for Cardano this cycle. Not local, the top for Cardano.
Top for this cycle, whenever that, that changing of cycle definition, but whenever it is, sometime in the next year.
Yeah, we'll say next 12 months.
I mean, I'm still in the $5 to $8 camp. I think that's
people are saying you're gonna need $1.8 million to be a millionaire. We're gonna go past $1. We're just past $1. We were just past $1. It'll go past $1 again. It'll go past $3. Yeah. 200K. That's gonna be a $5 Cardano.
Yeah, I think 200, a couple $100K. I think is probably tokens. It's probably gonna be in that. I think $5 to $8 is possible.
It's like a 680 or so, roughly.
But tell me, do the math because I've still got a lot of Cardano, and I think. Not to fudge your bags. This isn't FUD or anything. Obviously, I still have a lot of Cardano. I just so much so that I think the portfolio might be out of balance towards Cardano. I'm considering selling some Cardano for Chainlink, like a pretty good chunk, based on. Because here's what I think really happened. If you read between the lines, and I know you're going to break down some of that Charles interview or some of the clips where he was talking to Sergey, but really, if you read between the lines, here's what I think happened. Charles wanted World Liberty Fi to launch on Cardano. I think he's very he's very politically connected. He cares about what's happening in Washington. He's close with the Trumps and that whole camp. He wanted World Liberty Fi launch to happen on Cardano. And Sergey said, "Yeah, we can do that. Here's what it would cost." for us to implement Cardano. You know, for us to get all of our tech to work with Cardano, this is what it would cost. And it was a very high number. And I think you and I both know, like, if anybody who's actually developed or built or created a product knows, you know, it's a lot of work to integrate Cardano. Cardano works well for what it does, but it's definitely work to make it all happen. I think they said, you know, because of all that work, they said this is the price, and like, man, that's expensive, and so they didn't actually make it happen in time for World Liberty-Fi. They will do it, they will get it done, but that it shows how strong of a position Chainlink has. If you don't integrate with Chainlink, you're not going to be relevant in the long term of this cycle. So it's, for me, that really cemented Chainlink's infrastructure moat. And so it makes me want to put more into Chainlink.
We were talking earlier. So, Charles said they're in negotiations with Chainlink, active. We were predicting, what that would do to the price. I think Cardano can double in price within 7, definitely 14 days, if they go ahead and just go live with Link integrations.
Yeah, I think it'll happen. I think, like I said, I'm not FUD. I still have a ton of Cardano. I just think I have too much. And so, I think Chainlink is going to be a great player there.
I think Link will be good. Now, I do have some breaking news, everybody. We did launch DZ stake pool. It's just been a little side project of mine. I love the Cardano ecosystem. Going live, so maybe at the end of the Cardano video, I'll just do like a 10-second thing. If you do want to show support for Disco Fam, for myself, I have a lot of exclusive features. This is going to be integrated with the Midnight ecosystem. Other pools, I can't say for sure, but I'm working with the team that they're going to have all the day one features for Midnight. Also, I'm going to have some things where I am writing a book. Everybody who stakes to this pool will have a claimable book by me for free. I mean, maybe a little gas fee of like 10 cents or something like that, but free book, Midnight integration, a lot of stuff. So if you want to restake to the DZ stake pool, just go to the stake area and just type in DZ. I'm the only one with DZ. You see DZ, it is mine. It's almost like a good URL there, TJ.
Nice. Yeah, I'll stake some of my Cardano there.
All right. I've delegated, I started with 10,000. You can see it right there, 10,000 of my own ADA staking live, putting my money where my mouth is. And yeah, I got to watch Chainlink integration will make this pump look, this is the Trump pump. It will probably look similar to the Trump pump. Chainlink integration.
Because Chainlink integration would bring USD1 over.
Yeah.
And that would be
huge.
That
solves honestly 90% of the issues with Cardano, which is stablecoin liquidity.
Yeah, well, DeFi doesn't really exist without a stablecoin, like without a very highly liquid stablecoin. So
this is a good question though. I hate how Link always seems undervalued and doesn't pump like it truly should. Maybe the cycle is different. Maybe it's because all the smart money has it, and they want to just keep acquiring and acquiring and acquiring more and more and more.
Yeah, I agree. I had that same thought today too. Like, man, it's because they just started doing the buybacks. They just started kicking in their revenue model. So I think the power of Chainlink is in the long term, and that's what's interesting to me. Is it's something I feel like I can hold for a very long period of time. But I agree, tons of good news all the time, tons of actual real world revenue partnerships, moat, infrastructure, regulation, all of it doesn't seem to be reflected in the token price. But I do think it will start to. It's a slow. It's almost felt like that with BNB a little bit for a while, but what happened with BNB is it performed extremely well in bull markets, extremely well in bear markets, and then it just kept going and going and going. And I see Chainlink having performance similar to that.
Cardano Foundation doesn't want to pay Chainlink. It seems like IOG and Charles Hoskinson and that team is stepping up in a major way. Gregory, I think that's his name, for the CF. There's a lot of criticism thrown his way. All right, let's talk about World Liberty Fi. They're trying to save your token. World Liberty Fi burned $47 million worth, or 47 million World Liberty Fi. Back in the napkin math, a little over $10 million there. So they're doing what they can. They're trying to shore up the bids there, and it's just a small fraction of the original supply. They still have 24 billion circulating, so the burn about 1/5 of 1%, which honestly, I'll say that isn't anything. I mean, that isn't nothing. If you look at SHE burn address, they brag about 0.01%. So 1/5 of 1%, it's semi-significant.
Yeah, I mean, if a project has good revenue and they're doing buybacks and burns, that's not necessarily it is somewhat marketing and it can be built in, but it's not a bad thing. the main thing is they have good revenue and profit. That's what you want to be looking for these days, in my opinion.
Good question here. What are your rewards for staking? I have a very, very low fee, about the lowest out there. It's a 3.5% fee. There's some 5% fees. There's some 6% fees, maybe even a 10%. So you would get basically 96.5% of all the rewards that the block would provide. And that's just to have the uptime. There is a fee I have to pay to keep this thing running. So you're just kind of helping me out with that 3.5%. But yeah, you're getting the vast bulk majority, and you're getting about the most competitive rate out there. Now, speaking of competitive rates, how about Dogecoin competing with the rest of the market here? And they had a big major player step up for support. KuCoin now wants to do 10% of the Dogecoin mining with their new mining platform. Looks like KuCoin is going to go a little bit bullish on Doge. I just want to share the Doge chart. This is not a chart to fade. Anytime we come and test that yellow line, great time to buy. This is that Trump pump. It's that November 2024 pump. I think we're going to be hitting the top of this range before too long, folks. So fade at your own peril, and nothing looks crazier than a log chart. So you see how this looks when we go to regular. It disappears. Do not fade Dogecoin. It'll pump in weird, unforeseen ways. You won't know why. You won't know a single person that buys it. But if you go to the Walmart checkout line, 2 out of 10 people have it on some sort of a crypto wallet there. So do not fade Dogecoin. And I don't know, just people I know 2021, a lot of people held Dogecoin. Do crypto natives hold Dogecoin at all anymore, TJ?
Well, I don't. Tell us, chat. Anybody in the chat, type Doge.
Wire in.
If you hold any Doge, type Doge in the chat. I
have a little on, what is it, Robinhood.
I was gonna say I don't know if I do. I'd have to. I wouldn't surprise me if I found somewhere random on some wallet, but I don't think I do.
Bunch of no's.
Yeah, but I'd be curious to see. But I feel like anytime I talk to a normie, they always have Doge.
Yeah,
but I'll be interested to see. It might be an age thing too. It's kind of like the younger side. Oh yeah, there's some Doge.
My mom holds Doge.
There you go. Yeah, it's cheap.
First time I heard my buddy talk about Doge, he said that Doji, Dogecoin,
yeah,
Doji.
Dogecoin. I've heard people call it Dogecoin, Dogecoin. That was actually a lot more common back then. But yeah, there's actually a lot. Yeah, so.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll keep covering Doge. When it does break out, it's going to make a lot of people a lot of money. So we just want people to make a lot of money here. Well, folks, that is our show for today. I want you to smash that like button. Yet again, we're literally changing offices. We got a crazy day today. I'm going to work on a video, maybe, do some investigative work on Cardano, Chainlink, kind of look at that. And then we might have some new backgrounds pretty soon.
Yeah,
TJ.
It's going to be a long-term transition. We're setting up. We're like he said, we're
on the
setting
puberty
up the
blockers now.
Yeah,
I can't say that. Ugh.
Yeah, we're setting up the new space.
Long transition.
While before we break this space down, so we'll still be here for a little while. But yeah, prepare for. It's going to be a lot simpler, cleaner. I guess long-term, we're growing up a little bit. I don't know. We're going to have less stuff behind us, but. Yeah, we'll see you guys at the top.
Linkerata, both. That's all we got.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.